Hi everybody, welcome to a new tutorial. It's Leo from Sound for More. Today we are going to go through in more details the Chords tab of Tonality. It's going to be a tutorial on the Tonality app, but it's also going to be a tutorial on intervals, chords, etc. So I hope you enjoy and find this useful. So I just opened Tonality and I have selected the Chords tab. So let's start from here, the very top left. You can see here that it is selected these minus buttons, which means that I have not selected any keys, any type of chord, etc. So the first thing that you can do is to select the root of the chord. So let's try, for example, C. And it gives you immediately the option to select it to be neutral, the C, or flat, or actually sharp. And as you can see, things are changing in the bottom left part of the screen. It shows you the available chord for what you have selected. So let's set it as neutral. So in this case, it's C. It is assuming that it could be a C major chord, as you can see here, or a C minor chord as well, because I've not specified if it is major or minor, which is what I can do next. For example, I can say major chord. In that case, it will show me all the chords which are major, but also variation of those chords like C major 6. So you have an A here, which is a 6. In terms of intervals, here you have the C, the root, then the second interval, which will be D, third E, fourth and F, fifth a G, and then 6 and E, and 7, of course, A, B. So in this case, C major 6, because I have the 6 added. Another example here, C major 7, I have the 7 added here, starting from the root, which in this case, it is selected as C. Now, I could also specify to include here, for example, the 6. In that case, it will show me only one chord, C major 6, with the 6, in this case, A, added to the chord. Now, if I click to the chord, it will play the chord. If I click and slide, it will actually play the notes which compose the chord, which is very, very nice. Now, you can see this symbol here, click on it and you remove all the selection. Right, next, let's select, for example, a flat chord, in that case B, flat, major. And as you can see, I have a major chord here, B flat major. The root is B flat. The third is a D, and the fifth is an F. Similarly, if I want, for example, let's say a sharp F, sharp chord, minor, for example, here we go. The first one, F sharp, the third minor, which is an A, and then the fifth, which is a C sharp. So as you can see, you can select a neutral chord, flat chord, sharp chords, minor, major, with added 6, 7, 9th, 11th, and 13, which becomes really handy. Now, another way to actually select chords, again, let's clear the selection, clicking on this button, is actually to click on the notes. So, C, F, and an A. So in this case, it's saying, okay, I found a chord, which is F major, where I have an F, an A, and a D. But I also have a chord D minor 7, which contains those 3 notes. And because a D minor will be a D, an F, and an A, and the 7th will be a D, because the major 7 will be a C, because the major 7 will be a C sharp, in this case is 7, so it will be flattened to a C. So in this case, I have F, A, D in this chord. Now, if I want to focus only on those 3 notes, I click here on this target, and in that case, it will find me only the chords that precisely have the notes which I have selected here. So in this case, only F major. I can represent the chord here on a piano keyboard, on a guitar fret, where I can play individual strings, which are really nice. You see the root in red here. You see this symbol for bar, chords, and you see, for example, strings which are muted with the X, and also if some are open, you see the O symbol or the zero symbol on top. You can have also both representation if that makes it easier. And of course, you can strum. Okay, the chord. And you can also select, instead of here on the keyboards, the notes, you can click here on the fretboard and it will change the fretboard, and then you click on it, and then here you can actually choose directly notes, like so. You can close them all, you can open them all. You can see here they have been open, all the chords, or sorry, all the strings, okay? And of course, when you finish, you click outside and you have the chord represented here. Okay, in the guitar fretboard format. Okay, so let's again remove the selection here. There is also a possibility to add the custom chord. So if you click on the plus sign here, this is where you can add the name. Let's say Sound for More 1. If you want to put the symbol, but in this case, I'll leave the same as FM1. Then the notes. So the root, the third, the third, the fifth, and then the fifth sharp. Sharp. There you go. And then of course you can also, you see the chord here in preview. Okay. And you can play as well. You can also set the chord quality if it's major, minor, and also the extension type. For now, I just click add. And in this case, the chord has been added as a custom chord. Now, in order to retrieve the custom chord, well, very simple. So let's say that I want the note C, E, G, and G sharp. And it finds the chord which I've added. Now, if I click on it, the chord will be represented here on the right hand of the screen. And because it is a custom chord, I can edit it, which goes back to the screen which you have seen already a moment ago when I was adding the chord. Or you can click the bin button to delete the custom chord. Okay, so the other thing that you can also do, let's say that we have again a C major chord, like so, and piano representation. You can order here. You can click on here and you can say, order the chords that you see here from the notes low to high, or order by key, okay, or ordered by key span in terms of how the keys are spaced between the different keys. Okay, so you have different selection that you can choose if you want to have a different order. Personally, I don't use that sorting frequently, but it's there for you, available if you find it useful. So now let's select the C chord and let's make it a 7. So let's click actually on this one, C7th. And you see the chord represented here on the right hand of the screen. Let's maximize this window, so we click here. As you can see, we have the root here of first degree. We have the third here, which is an E, the fifth, which is a G, and then a 7 flat, which is a B flat, which are also represented here as degrees. You have also the notes as well. You can select to omit notes, and notes which are omitted don't change the characteristic of the chord. So in this case, the fifth of the G will be omitted, which is this one. So it doesn't change that much. That is why you can omit that note. You can also decide to do an inversion. So the first inversion will move the first note up an octave. So you have E, G, B flat, and C in this case. You can have a second inversion, which will move up an octave also, not only the root, but also the third. And you can have a third inversion, which will move up also the fifth. Okay, leaving you the 7 flat as the lowest note. So that is the third inversion. Okay, so let's go back to the normal with no inversion. Okay, we're going to scroll here. Down, we have a representation of the same chord in notes. So with a treble, or a bass representation, okay? Which, of course, in music notation, that sometimes is what you actually may want to see. If you scroll down again, you find a number of chords here which have been selected, represented with the treble, clef, also both as well, treble and bass here. And you can select one chord, click on the different strings, strum them, or select them, and then you see the chord selected here. You can play, or you can export it as an image and therefore save the image in your photo albums, etc., for further sharing. Now, you see the chord here, which has notes with the root in red. In this case, the root is C. At the moment here, it says refine result pitch. I can click on pitch and it will show me the interval. So the root is here, the flat 7 is there, the fifth is there, the third is here, then there's another fifth up there. Or you can click again and it will say none, so nothing will be shown in the representation of the chords in the fretboard. So let's click again to have the pitch. So in this case, I can see the notes. Right, I can also order here by playability in terms of the one which are easier to play. In this case, you can see this definitely is the easiest chord. 3 notes, you don't play the first 3 strings, okay? And this one on the right side is probably the most complex in terms of having a barcode here. So in terms of playability, probably the most difficult one out of the one shown. You can also order them by number of string used, okay? Or also by number of fretted notes. So it will go by the most fretted notes here, okay, to the lowest. You can also order it by fretboard location from low to high. So in this case, you start from the first fretboard, and here you can see start from the 5th. There's a number 5 there, and also you have the number 7 here. Okay, so let's click on playability again. Here you have a settings, which if you click on it, it gives you access to further settings in terms of choosing the chords. You have a reset button to go back to default, and then you have an apply button. Okay, so let's try that again. At the moment it says max fret stretch. So up to the 3rd, you can go up to the 5th and click apply. You have more chords because it allows a wider spread on the fretboard. Let's go back in here. Let's reset it. You can set the number of maximum fingers used, or also the maximum number of strings used as well. You can also allow standard omission. In this case, they are allowed. So let's try. So this first chord, you don't have a G. So you have allowed omission. But if I was to disable that and apply, you will see that that will go because the next available chord will have a G, which was an omittable note. So let's reset that as available. At the moment, it is set to bring the root as the lowest note, and you can see represented with the red color. You can say position the root anywhere. So in that case, it gives you more chord, and you can see the root in some cases higher, represented with higher strings, okay? Or you can say allow not to have a root, which in this case you have lots more chords. Of course, the type of sound will be very, very different. Let's leave it as root lowest. Then you can also say force it to have movable voicing only. So you activate that and click apply. And here it will give you a very small selection of chords because it will allow for chords where there are no open strings. Because if you have an open string, you cannot move the note on that string. So all the strings are either muted or they're fretted. So in this case, you can move them up the fretboard. Okay, so let's disable that. The other thing as well, if you notice at the moment is set to hide equivalent voicing, okay? If I was to disable this, you'll have more chords, and you can see some chords which are very similar. Look to this one, these two here, right? So if I was to say hide equivalent voicing, there you go. And that type of chord would actually have, which is here, but you don't find the equivalent one, okay? Next, what you can see is you can actually decide if you have consecutive only string, no skipped string if you click apply, So you will see there's no muted string, okay? Or you can set it as any, which will give you a wider selection of chords. So these settings are very useful for you to decide what chord you would like to show and therefore use. Moving on, you have a related scale to the chord which is selected. You can represent them as piano, keyboard, as the guitar, fretboard, or both. And as always, you can play the scales. Okay. So in this case, I show you the related scale with each C mixer leading. So which makes perfect sense, is based on, is the closest to the chord. But you also have the C bebop dominant. In this case, you have the 7, major 7 there, but the rest of the notes are part of that chord as well, or would be equivalent to be part of that chord, and so on and so forth. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Hopefully this has been a tutorial not only to explain how tonality works in terms of chords, but also a little bit of theory behind chords, intervals, etc. So if you have any question, please do leave a comment. And as always, please remember to subscribe to support the channel. Thank you. Bye.